Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be analyzing the Catan USA National Championships. So basically how it works is you have to win a regional Catan tournament first. And then after you win a regional Catan tournament in the US, then you can play in US Nationals. Let's go ahead, before we do anything, there is this really great video done by Hakuna Matata. Check him out, he makes great videos. What he did was he analyzed the placements for USA Nationals. So let's go ahead and look at the board real quick. So in my opinion, this is one of the most underrated decisions inside the game. And that's actually choosing your positioning on the board. So what do I mean by that? Whenever you get into a tournament, not only do you have to choose your placement, but you also have the opportunity to choose what position you place. So do I want to place first, second, third, or fourth position? But I get to look at the board. That's the biggest thing. So I get to look at the board and then analyze which position do I think I like the most here. And that has a lot of analysis behind it, or depending on how difficult the board is. In general, if you want to try to practice and get better, one of the biggest recommendations is whenever you play with your friends, instead of rolling your dice just to see what position you place, first, second, third, or fourth, what you should do, you roll the dice to see who has the highest, right? So if I have the highest dice, then I get to choose on this board if I want to go first, second, third, or fourth. That decision right there is actually very, 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 very important. So that's how it works. So this is the placement order.
In this case, blue decided to pick first and go with the 6-5-11. White then goes 9-8-11, or we cheat, pointing down. Orange in third goes 4-9-8, double wheat and brick, pointing left. Red in fourth position picks the 6-10-3, pointing down, and the 8-9-12, pointing up to start with the free road. Back to orange, who goes 8-3-10, or we cheat, pointing left. White then picks the 5-3-11, double wood and ore, pointing down. And lastly, blue goes on the 4-10 coastal spot with the wheat port and points left.
That's how the placements went. So yeah, looking at this setup, right? So we have over here a bunch of sheep and a bunch of ore for blue. Now, if we're about to look at orange's setup and look at their setup. They have tons of wheat over here. And guess what? They're locked out of the wheat port over here. So basically what's going to happen is orange is going to have a bunch of wheat. And if orange has a bunch of wheat, well, and blue needs it, blue and orange should, in theory, they should be able to get off some trades with each other. But the problem is blue doesn't necessarily have that much of what orange needs. So if they don't have trades that much, and if orange is going to be stacking a bunch of wheat, what's going to happen is blue, if they ever need wheat and they draw knights, they're going to be jacking from orange at a high frequency. So you have to think about what is your opponent's hand going to be flooded with and how can I exploit that in the game.
Now let's look at white's setup. And I actually like it quite a bit, especially when white is able to road settle onto the 4-11 and get the 3-for-1 port.
The biggest thing with white's setup here is that the ores. These ores over here, well, they're hard to block because they're split into two. So like, it really sucks to try to block 2 points of ore. It's really gross. What's going to be blocked a large portion of the time is this, the wheat, and the sheep. Thing is, like, white, if they hustle really hard, they can get all the extra wheat off orange, since orange is going to just sit there with a bunch of wheat this game.
Setup. They're pretty stuck without a strong port or even an easy expansion spot. There's not a simple road settle anywhere for orange.
Yeah, so basically, if I'm gonna be honest, like, if you run this game into a simulation, orange is fucked. He wins like a very few percentage of the time. As orange here, here's a #1 thing I'll try to do. And it sounds a little bit weird. Basically, you have basically gotten boxed out because you thought the wheat port would be open, but you're wrong. So now what do? Your hand is stuck with a bunch of wheat, you have a terrible resource ratios, and you have nowhere to expand. You have to really, really try to hustle for trades. And also, you have to hope that your opponents understand that your chances of winning the game are extremely low. You should almost never get robbed. And try to talk with blue. It's like, yo, blue, what if I don't rob you this time, and then you will port my wheat for me for an ore, or something like that? Because orange needs it. Otherwise, they're just gonna be stuck with a bunch of wheat and just sit there and die and just instantly get wrecked.
Lastly, let's look at red's setup. And I definitely do not envy red's position.
Yeah, basically, it's trying to say red position also sucks, which is true too. I also think that, like, if you put this into the solver, red's position is also just kind of boned. Yeah, it's like, I mean, just like looking at red's setup, is you have to double up on this brick port. And what the hell do you do with the brick port afterwards? You start churning away all your brick for the other sheep and ore that you don't have? It's a very, very, very slow setup. It's very, very, very slow. It's also a very hard position to play too.
Now let's look at some alternate.
Okay, yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Let's wipe off the board.
Yep.
Let's just start from the very beginning.
By the way, this a little birdie once told me, and it surprised me what this little birdie said. And this birdie said, you know, there's no such thing as a right or wrong decision in Catan. Because, you know, you can just play your game. And I was like, what? Huh? No, I 1000% disagree. There are 100% correct and incorrect decisions inside this game. So what I'm trying to say here, in terms of objectively correct decisions, this, in my opinion, I think that is the objectively correct first pick on this board. I guess the video should explain why.
The 3-for-1 is uncontested, and that's always a great thing.
Mhm.
And the wood port could even come in handy, giving you some more outs in case you get completely locked out of wheat in the slightest chance. White then goes 9-8-11. And I'm a little iffy on this pick. And that is
Here's where I disagree with him, but okay.
primarily because white is not pointed towards a port. And picking second means you might not even get one on the way back. In order to hedge that risk, me personally, I would probably try to find a spot that leads to an easy port that's not necessarily contested.
So he's right, by the way. This guy is right in the sense that ports do matter a lot. But there's two ways to view Catan. And the way number one to view Catan is mathematically from a game theory point of view. There's also another way to view the game, and that's known as exploitatively. And that's thinking about who am I playing against and how does who I'm playing against affect the game. And he's right that like you do need ports, especially as an or wheat sheep setup. But if you know your opponents are extremely loose traders and they're frequently trading or they're really open to doing trades and doing deals, then suddenly you might not need ports as much. It depends on who you're playing against.
With that being said, in this position, there really isn't that great spot that jumps out. I think I personally probably would have picked the 8-9-4.
I disagree.
To get on the wheat port. However, as we discussed before, that 4-10 is a very viable option for blue. So the only reason I am taking the 8-9-4 here is because I am confident in my ability to negotiate a way where I can retain that 4-10 expansion spot. So one way...
Okay. Here's where I disagree, by the way. Also, I disagree with this a lot, unfortunately. If you're going to be placing on the 4-9-8 first and pointing towards a wheat port, and you know that this is going to be that there's a high chance blue takes this, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position to get extorted. Blues can say like, listen, I'm going to place on the 4-10. You have to give me the world. You have to give me so much for me not to place on the 4-10.
However, an alternate way is that orange takes the 5-3-11 in the situation. And so let's say you're white here. You have the option of going on that 6-10-3. However, if you do that, blue, of course, goes on the 4-10 and blocks out your port. So what could you do to make sure
I think
that
this is
you
clever as
retain
fuck,
that
by the way.
4-10 expansion spot?
Pay attention.
Well,
This is
one
clever.
option that I see right away is seeing if blue wants the 10-3-4. If this is the case, I would go 6-10, allowing blue to get the 10-3-4. Sure, they have a strong position now, with plenty of expansion spots that they don't have to worry about getting plowed to, and more wheat to cover all their excess ore. But I get a wheat port. I'm one road and settle away from the 6 ore, and I have strong enough wood and brick where I can try to make those things happen early in the game. If you're
Yeah, so this is actually very clever what this person is saying here. So what he's saying is that like if you go in the 6-3-10, which looks like the best spot, you get destroyed here basically all the time. So just obviously you take a worse spot to allow blue to go here.
But let's keep going on to red in 4th position. As I said before, they had a very, very tough decision to make here.
Oops.
Now, if I'm placing in 4th position, something that pops out to me right away is this 9-5-12, 8-3-10. You get all 5 resources. You have space in the middle, connect. This is probably what I would have done if under a lot of time pressure. But let's place this out.
Yep, good. See, you see how he's actually placing it out. That's what you're supposed to do. He thinks about the future.
5-12. All right, cool. We have a sheep port that can do a lot of damage and an uncontested 3-for-1. However, let's look at this setup in general. It's good. It's fine. But if we focus on C competition, I think we're pretty outmatched. There's definitely a chance we could win, but how can we elevate this position even more? Well, we have to make the most of what our advantage is right off the bat. And our advantage is that we have strong wood and strong brick. So how do we make the most of this and actually take less production? So instead of the 8-3-10 here, how about we do the 4-10-3? How does this change things? Well, I think orange would still settle 5-3-11. White would then go 6-10-3, and then ultimately blue would go 4-10 again. And no one takes the 8-3-12, in my opinion.
So what he's saying is you take a worse spot to basically open this up. And he's absolutely correct. You take a spot that locks the board even less to open up your space. And you have to do that as a road player. You have to make space for yourself, because if you don't make space for yourself, your roads are useless. So now we know what actually happened. Let's go ahead and watch what happened here inside the actual game. So like the main battle, in my opinion, is between white and blue. And if you run simulations of this game, I'm pretty confident it's going to continue, a large portion of the time, it's going to continue to be like that. So knowing that, I think red and orange should be, 1, try to help each other as much as possible. And also 2, orange and red should not be getting robbed much.
Sheet for wood? Nope.
Throwing 2 cards?
Nah. Way early.
So basically what Mary is saying is that it's too early to be trading 2-for-1s. And that, I disagree. I think you can trade 2-for-1s, 5-for-1s, any type of trade, given the correct circumstances. When it comes to a lot of principles, like these, like no wheat equals defeat, or no ore equals 7-point score, or let's say we don't trade, try not to trade the leader. These are all principles, but there are many, many, many spots where you need to break these principles. And the more you understand that these are just relative principles that you generally should follow, but there's many exceptions, and you just analyze it about how the situation actually is, rather than just following the principle, it opens your mind a lot more. So already we can tell, by the way, Orange's hand is completely flooded with wheat, because, well, they place on a high wheat setup. So they play the knight, and as Orange here, where do you think you should jack? And in my opinion, like, just looking at what's happening here, I think trying to jack an ore from white here is good. But instead of jacking, how about we just try to simply extort again? We know red has 100% brick. It's also early in the game, so it's not too hard to figure out what they have. So after some deliberation, they put it on the 9 brick and solo block red? Huh? I guess I don't understand it. And I guess I wish I could actually talk with Caleb to try to see what he was thinking. But in my opinion, there's many, many reasons why you shouldn't be doing this. One, you're blocking the brick. Red already has a brick. So in terms of blockability, this doesn't really block red at all. If you want to block red, the better spot is maybe to block the wood over here. Because guess what? Red has a bunch of brick in hand, so you want to take away the actionable cards, which is wood. The second thing is, as Orange, you're on a bunch of wheat over here, and you're on brick over here. So why do you want a brick whenever you produce it already?
I have to say, you'll notice every individual player doesn't have the full amount of resources, which really means it's a good board that they made, and there's going to be a lot of trading throughout.
Yeah. So that's a very good sign for, well, the best traders on the board. If there's a board where there needs to be a lot of trading, and you know how to trade well, because the trading takes a lot of skill. You should be able to win that game at a high frequency. Let's say you know your opponents are really, really bad at trading. Like, remember, you can play this game exploitatively, or you can play this game like game theory optimally. And if you want to play this game exploitatively, maybe you want to place it in a certain way where you can induce your opponents to have to trade you more. That's a scenario where you're playing exploitatively.
11.
So
11.
this is a very important role.
So 11s will be key for both Mary and Bo.
Can I give you 2 sheep for 2 wheat?
No, I don't have 2 wheat.
So like I said, like right here, he's looking for 2 wheat, but red doesn't have 2 wheat. So like even the best players don't have 100% tracking. But you do understand that he's targeting this trade towards red because he thinks that is a high chance that red does have 2 wheat. You can see he's thinking about tracking and stuff. This trade is very clever by Bo, by the way. So what he does is he does a 1-for-1 over here. And basically, the idea behind it is because, well, first of all, red's sitting at like 3 cards. Red's not going to do anything with the sheep. But Bo does know that the brick is useful for white over here. And they're trying to score basically like another trade over here, potentially with white. But in general, the brick has more trading utility than the sheep. So I think it's a good trade because it doesn't do anything for red.
Bo pretty much has a full hand and passes here.
And
Yeah.
7.
And so
That's a very unfortunate roll.
There is
Yeah. I'm just going to skip it. But basically, she put on the 4 wheat, which is correct, which is good. And she's robbed from Bo, which is also correct, in my opinion. If in Mary's shoes, your only real competitor is Bo. So just rob the hell out of him. Also, in this game, what should happen a lot is, as white, you should be robbing blue a lot. And there's a lot of reasons behind it. But one, because this is huge for blue, just taking this down. But 2, you have positioning on blue. You go immediately after blue. So what happens is, the robber like hurts a lot more because the robber stays on Bo's tiles a lot longer.
Anyone need sheep?
would you like an ore?
It's such a good trade. I'm not sure how good of a trade this is for white. This road for white is pretty good. But the thing is, I think you naturally get trades with this guy over here because orange, he typically has an excess of brick. So in general, I like to be more tight with the ore. Since you're trading 1-for-1 with your opponent, they're the opponent that has like very, very strong inside this game, and you're giving them ore and giving them very close to city. So I typically think that I'd be very scarce.
You have wheat for trade?
This is important to listen to.
You want?
The sheep aren't super helpful.
He's trying to hustle for basically for a wheat to get a city.
I'd need 3.
Wow.
And so Bo offers it. Yeah, I'll give you 3 cards. It gives him a city.
3 for 1 wheat is what you're looking for? Yeah. What are you gonna build?
Just need wheat because I got like robbed. And like I have too many cards in my hand, that's why.
suspicious.
I think you're too good of a player to play like that.
So basically, Caleb is saying suspicious. He's too good of a player. Okay, so you're throwing suspicion.
We all know that you haven't lost the game yet.
I know. It's a good trade. I mean,
Okay, so I want to break that sequence down. So Caleb is being suspicious. You're too good of a player. Okay, well, just piece like the pieces together. And like, I mean, Bo Pang is sitting at 7 cards. He's offering 3, which brings him down to 5 cards. Bo, in general, good players, you know, they don't offer multiple cards unless it's for a very good reason. So what's the best move in his shoes? Is buy a city. So you can throw out the suspicion you want, but if there's someone offering you three cards and refusing telling you what to do, it's not that hard to figure out that they're going to build a city, especially if they're all on ore, wheat, and sheep. So instead of saying suspicious, instead of doing that, like just think about like, okay, and what am I giving him? It's very clearly a city since he's going to end up at 5 cards. Is this worth it now? Like also just with this one trade, you can track his entire hand. Just think about it. Let's say we know he's trying to build a city because why else would he offer 3 cards? And he's offering 3 sheep and he's wanting 1 wheat. That means he already has 3 ore and 1 wheat in hand. And guess what? We just solved his entire hand. We put it together. So you don't have to have tracking to figure out his entire hand. You can just, you know, use trades to piece it together essentially. And Bo passes at 7 cards again because he's trying to hold for the city. That's correct, but you don't want to buy a dev card here. You want to buy the city. So now he has a 4 for 1. It's 8 cards. Bo's over 8 cards, but he has a city in hand with a 4 for 1.
I don't know.
And here's a road for Mary, who is, again, she...
He knocked in early.
Yeah,
too.
clearly.
Just drop the road to the 3-1, and it's very good for white.
This board, it's kind of the same. There's a lot of sheep.
Very sheep heavy, but
Yeah.
also is going to be very valuable late game.
So he says it's going to be valuable very late game. So here's a concept that not many people understand, I think. So depending on the group of your players, right? Like let's say different resources have different values throughout the game. And there's general trends of like resource fluctuations of how valuable this resource is. So let's say wood or brick, you know, that's pretty simple. At the very beginning of the game, it's highly desired because there's a lot of spots to go. But as the spots are more and more filled up, the value of wood brick starts to plummet. But then if there is a longest road race, then suddenly the demand of wood brick like skyrockets back again. So it's important for you to recognize the board and also to look at the board and understand at what point of these resources are they going to be the most valuable. Like let's say if the wood brick is the most valuable at the early of the game, then I should sell it. I should sell off the wood brick right now because if you can sell off the wood brick at the very beginning of the game, where it's the most valuable, that means you can receive the most cards.
All right.
So buys another dev card. Yep.
Okay, so this can get him to 2 knights, and now we're talking about largest army.
Yes, now we're knocking on the door of it.
So once again, Orange's hand is full of wheat over here. I do think that like you could get creative here as Orange. You can say, hey, Bo, I'll give you insurance and hold on to some of your cards for you if you can let me use your wheat port like twice or something like that. There's a lot of room to navigate this. This is very clever
Wheat production.
by Bo.
She has so many in her hand now.
So she needs wood.
It will be interesting to
I do
see
not have any to spare today.
if Caleb can continue buying cards throughout the game, because it's like 2 early cards that could just be duds, and then that's a waste of resources. But
Wood, brick and a wheat for
So now Mary offers a brick and a wheat, so 2 cards for a wood. If, like, yeah, so like basically Bo snaps that trade instantly.
he's trying to trade her 4 sheep
So,
for 2, and he gets it across. Wow.
And that's a very, very good move. That's such a good move
Yeah.
because well,
Shady wanted-
one, basically he gets a guaranteed city. In my opinion, as white, I think I would have tried snapping that trade and stealing it from red because getting the brick is just good in general. But also you deny Bo that trade.
Bo-
So yeah, he gets under 7 cards and gets a city
You're not one of them.
and gets a brick on top of it and prevents white from trading too.
Soon enough,
Get
these
any
3s
sheep.
and 11s
So
are
now
gonna
I
dry
am
out.
interested in sheep.
Okay. Any 2 cards.
I don't really want to do 2 cards.
So if you think about Bo's shoes, he says any 2 cards, but Bo's tracking here. He knows that these any 2 cards, it's not just any typical 2 cards. The most likely 2 cards he's gonna get is 2 wheat. So when he says any 2 cards, it makes it look like it's flexible, but in reality, you're most likely getting 2 wheat or wood wheat, which is also still good for his position too.
Any clay for sale?
What are you trading?
Wheat.
No, I make wheat, so it's not as desirable.
What about a wood?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Mary has 6
How
wheat.
many cards do you have?
I only have 2.
So basically, what happens here is they do 1 for 1, and then they do another trade after this. But in general, in my opinion, first of all, as red, when white's sitting at 9 cards and they're looking for brick, they're not going to try to build roads. They're obviously trying to settle, and they already have a city up. So you have to get more than 1 card, especially since you're sitting at 2 cards. All this does is give you a single road as red. You should really, in my opinion, as red, like you can really, really, really squeeze here because white's hand is pretty terrible. Like they have a stuck hand. So if you're tracking, you can really, really exert that pressure and be like, nah, I need way more than 1 card.
Interesting trade by Katie, considering she's got
Theory, I make wood.
Yeah, and then she gives 2 wheat to Bo. But like, so she does a 2 for 1 with Bo. But like, it should be the other way around. Bo should be getting 1 card, and red should be getting like 2 cards. And the thing is, this 2 wheat for Bo is massive because guess what? This wheat is blocked. So this is just a very, very, very good value trade for Bo. Although it doesn't immediately help his hand in terms of value, it's top notch, top notch. Very, very good.
What are you trying to do?
I mean, that's what he needs, so, I mean,
I don't know if I want to give up my sheep now.
I think that trading him wheat is the thing.
Yeah, Bo doesn't want to give up his sheep because any 2 or any of his rolls, 6 or 11, gives him 2 dev cards, and that's very, very strong.
Oh,
There's the 11.
Big 11.
It's a huge 11. So I don't know why I don't know why Bo is saying, oh fuck. I think that's what he said. He said like, oh shoot.
for the 7, please.
And double wood for Mary.
Come on, he just got 2 dev cards. It's a very good roll for him.
With or 3 for
It's an amazing
1
roll.
Should have just requested 1.
I like that other 11 better.
But yeah, Bo has an amazing turn here. He buys a dev card. He buys another dev card. Also, he does it correctly too. He buys 1 at a time. You always want to buy 1 dev card at a time. See what it is, evaluate, and see if you want to buy it again. I see a lot of people just throw in 2 wheat, 2 or 2 sheep, and just give me 2. But like, no, do it 1 at a time because depending on what you get, you might not want to buy the second dev card. So now in White's turn, I mean, I'm curious, Chad, what would you do? Would you buy dev card in White's turn, or would you buy city?
Right now. We'll see what
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a city. It's definitely the city because it's just more efficient. Yes, you do want to get dev cards to protect yourself. The thing with the city is the 3, 5, 11, it doesn't get blocked on this. It doesn't get, the 5 doesn't get blocked. The 11 doesn't get blocked. The 3 doesn't really get blocked. It's a great city because it doesn't get blocked, and also like you get to play more efficiently too. Because like porting everything just for a single sheep sucks, especially since you're on the 8 and the 4. You really don't want to do that. So just getting a second city is just so much better. So there's a very subtle thing to see. You can tell if players are tracking or not. And watch this.
Like Bernie, I'm once again here asking if anybody has any clay for sale.
So basically, she does a wide broadcast saying, does anyone have any clay for sale? And I guess for what that means to me is that, like, how I know someone that's tracking and they're really good is they say, hey, are you willing to trade me brick? Because they know that you have brick exactly. And it's also like a much more targeted offer. But when you throw out like a cast, like a wide net like this, it's basically saying, I have no clue if anyone has brick or does anyone even have brick they're willing to give it to me and stuff. So I can tell with this that basically not super precise tracking is happening right now.
Bo is doing extraordinarily well for no 6s rolling. That's his main spot.
It's all the trades.
Yeah.
That's impressive to be able to get that many, to get a city and 2 dev cards with no 6s being rolled. Very, very impressive. She drops another city though. Okay, and she does the 3, 5, 11, which is the best spot.
What now is that
Too late.
What about wood? You have some wood?
I do.
I do, but I don't need wheat, really. You have ore?
I also need brick.
I have ore. Hang on, let me keep this.
Just like,
Well, if he gets to do it,
as
obviously,
Caleb, I really don't like trading away the ore here. I don't think it's
just
good. I
gotta hope that the game
think you
goes
need the
longer
ore to
and
hold.
stalls out
You
so
need
they
to hold on to the
eventually
ore
get
because you need the city.
Other players are already getting.
You just have a brick?
Yeah, I need to.
Strange to everyone that Bo's trying to trade away his 1 brick with no road resources. But again, it's the way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It is a correct move because he needs the wheat to buy dev cards.
When I'm in development cards.
He's got 2 down. He's on strong pace to get largest army.
And also, remember how I said he's trying to sell the brick while it's valuable because he knows the brick is going to fall down quite a bit in value.
You're
No.
wood for an ore? You've changed your mind.
I don't know. I don't think that's a good deal for me, no.
Huh? I might be interested in wood for ore.
I don't know.
Wood for ore is great for Mary, in my opinion. It's so good. It is so good. It just gives you a dev card, and you take away wood from orange.
Okay with you.
2 cards.
Yeah, he literally has 1 resource.
I only have
card,
1
and you know
resource.
what it
I
is.
can't do anything, right?
Well, but I can't do my play for 2.
Ah, right.
So if I give you 1, I could do it.
I would take that as white. Just take the ore. Just take the ore. It helps you buy dev cards. You need it. The wood doesn't do anything. You're porting the wood 3 for 1 anyways. Just take the wood for ore. It's a great trade.
Oh, so Caleb plays the year of plenty.
Wait, what? He 4 for 1 just to keep 1 wood? Wait, what? He year plenty for a wood and an ore, and he 4 for 1 his wheat for an ore just so he can leave with the wood in hand. Huh? Also, by the way, the city here is, in my opinion, is disgusting. And the reason is because it gives you better ore wheat sheep ratios. You can buy more dev cards. This just gets your hand stuck with more wheat and brick. That's not tradable. So Bo plays a knight.
First,
Yeah, the 9 wheat is a bright block, I think. Like, the thing is, if Bo takes the wood from Caleb, Caleb just lost 4 cards, you know, since he just 4 for 1 that. It's terrible. And in Bo's shoes, he kind of also wants the wood too, since it gives him a road. So what would you do if you're in this position as white? Because I think this is a very critical turn. What do you do? Do you build a road? Do you port for an ore and buy a dev card? What do you do? Yeah, I think it's a dev card for sure. And there's multiple reasons why. So 1, as Mary, you are leading and you have positioning on Bo. You have to exert your positional dominance and block him over here. 2, your spot is currently blocked. So buying a knight is inherently good. 3, it's like getting all the other dev cards. Getting Monopoly is great. Getting victory points are great. Getting road building is also great too, since you can potentially snag road and go to the sheep port too.
3 wood for the clay, and then wood for road.
Yeah, and I think that's a
Okay, so
mistake.
now-
Because in my opinion, this is not good pacing. Reason why I say that, well, you're at 5 points. If you take longest road, now you're suddenly at 7 points. If you get a settlement, now you're suddenly at 8 points. What do you think your opponents, who are very, very good at finals of a table, what do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to sit around idly and just let you win? No way. They're going to take away longest road from you. And as white, because you have no brick income, it's going to be very, very, very hard for you to fight the longest road battle.
I know you
He's
are.
got to play it longest road, and he's gonna.
No. I'm not going for a long.
So he laughed. Okay, they laugh. They make a joke here. It's actually not unreasonable because if Bo is buying a lot of dev cards, there's a backdoor chance that Bo draw the road building, and then he already has 1 wood. He ports and does this, and guess what? That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 longest road. So it's not unreasonable at all for Bo to take that. But yeah, obviously the chances are slim. Also, I really like how Bo reacted to this because he just laughed it off. He's like, no way. But there's this good backdoor chance he can actually do it.
Ooh.
So clutch 7 here for Mary.
Yeah, she goes.
Okay, yeah, I also think that this is a pretty big mistake too. I think that like right here, why are you blocking this brick? It makes more sense just to block this, once again, exert positioning on Bo, rob from him. I don't think orange and red are going to be doing this much this game. If you just look at this position objectively, I do think blue is just crushing a large portion of the time. So someone said the 4 wheat or the 6 ore. I think in this spot, you're actually right. It's a 6 ore. And the reason because of that is because if you look at their exact hand, if 2 ore gives them 2 more dev cards. So you actually want to go ahead and block the 6 ore over the 4 wheat. So yeah, my bad. Thank you, chat. What's the prevent these players from colluding? Collusion is a weird word because it's smart to collude against the leader. But I think where collusion is wrong, where it's like, let's say, a friend A and friend B enter into a game, all they do is trade each other an entire game and try to win. That's just like cheating.
All right, 1 more road. Now she's 1 away from longest.
And the sheep port too. But
yeah,
yeah, remember, she spent 6 cards just to get there. So she ported 3 wheat and a wood. So she's done 2 3-for-1s to build these 2 roads. That is very, very, very expensive when that could have gone to 2 dev cards.
yes. And we
And
for good.
how active Bo is in every single turn.
Yes.
Yeah,
Regardless
also
of-
like, yeah, keep in mind, he's so active. He's because he's hunting for these trades because he knows he needs them. And that's what a good player should do. Yeah.
There it is.
And that settlement is very, very important since he has a 3-1 now. So the thing was, what's really important about this is now this 5 sheep, it turns into any card. So it basically allows him to be a lot more consistent when it comes to buying development cards. And that's why it's so powerful.
Wood for wheat.
Can you throw in a sheep too?
Katie can throw in wood for you.
But you see how Bo's trying to like make it so these players can't trade against each other, so Mary doesn't get a trade. It's very clever. Make it so you can trade between yourselves and not trade with the leader. The thing is, sometimes you have to be fast with a lot of your trades to prevent people from talking them down.
Road.
Wow.
I think this is really risky here, building another road here. Once again, I probably would have bought dev cards a long time ago.
Talking about-
Also, hold up. Like, you hear that?
It is not a victory point.
In general, you shouldn't say what your dev cards are because it just helps people figure it out and play around what you have.
I'd be shocked if
Also, keep in mind, so Mary here is rolling the dice when the robber is on her. So it's not a victory point. It's also not a knight. So now the chances are it's a year plenty or it's a road building. And the thing is, the last turn, we saw that Mary did a 3-for-1 just to build here for another road. So it's probably not a road building. 1 year of plenty has already been played. So there's only 1 more year plenty inside the deck. So you can very logically deduce that there's like low chances of the year plenty. It's not a knight. It's not road building. It's not a VP. It's probably a monopoly. Also, another thought, by the way, whenever you have a monopoly, you have to set up for the monopoly. You can't just willy-nilly hope that there's a bunch of random cards appear and then just monopoly and hope it's a very good one. In Mary's shoes, I would have not dropped this road. So the reason why is because if you can settle here, now it lets you do a big sheep monopoly. And guess what? Bo's hand is usually stuck with a lot of sheep. Now you can consider other options like besides wheat, you can also potentially do sheep and turn it into something very flexible with the sheep port.
I'll give you a brick for wheat. Half of whatever you want.
Wait, why does she?
Oh, he does get the death card. Wow. Huge turn.
I was confused why Katie took that, but I think the reason why she took that is because she wants Caleb to get more dev cards to take the largest army, so Bo doesn't get it. So she's playing like more defensively with that trade, and also because it helps Caleb buy the dev card, which I think is a very clever move, very very smart on Katie.
There's no.
And like also like it's been like 3 or 4 orbits where Mary just does nothing, and that's the problem with her pacing too.
Absolutely.
So she has to pass again, and she almost got cut off here too. Since imagine if the 7 didn't roll and then White gets cut off here, it's game over. Bo just wins.
And you know what, since you already called it, I should play it last turn. Probably would have avoided all of that. I apologize to you, Katie. I'm going to monopolize.
Oh, wow. Monopoly play.
Have to go through that.
So the thing is with this Monopoly, it's kind of hard to use in Mary's position. Since Bo knows she has a Monopoly, and so Bo's going to be playing around the Monopoly. And the thing is, Bo goes right before Mary. So what's going to happen is that Bo's going to use all the cards possible. He's gonna try to empty his hand as much as possible to ensure that like she can't get a good monopoly off Bo.
She
So
monopolies
there's 3
brick.
big from Caleb. 4
Wow,
from
7.
Katie.
So this is an interesting spot. Do you drop a settlement, chat, or do you pop 2 dev cards here? Yeah, I think I would have been more inclined to buy 2 dev cards. Because if you buy 2 dev cards, right, you can, like, what happens now is you take away all their brick, so they can't build roads, and getting knights to defend yourself is good, since army you can still get. Victory points are still very good. It does suck porting all this stuff, but the other play is, like, what's the other play? You port your entire hand just for a single settlement? It's kind of gross. What about the other options, like 1 road? Yeah, I like that move, actually. I like 1 dev card and pass. I think that's very good. Like, the problem is that, like, you don't want to be crunching up. You don't want to be porting away all your brick, because if you port away all your brick, now the 5 and the 10, 11 is useless. You want to keep some brick in your hand, so these 5 and 11s are actionable. So yeah, I like the idea of only porting away 1 set of bricks instead of porting the entire thing.
There's the first settlement.
Okay.
Well, there's 1 settlement.
3 for 1 twice with a brick.
Yeah, it's very, very, very expensive a settlement. Very expensive. Also, she decides to go in the sheep port too, which is interesting. I think maybe actually going in the 5-9 is slightly better. And the reason because of that is you already have the 3-1 port, so it's not that good. And also, you're gonna have to defend longest road. So I think getting on that brick is actually pretty vital.
It's also extremely important that Caleb didn't play knight there,
Yeah, he passed with 2 knights played and 1 card down.
which is very unfortunate for him, because if that was a knight...
Yeah, like he needs it for pacing. This basically says like orange here does not have knights for pacing and stuff, so it's very, very bad.
Right after this turn.
So
Because he does have...
And obviously this is huge for
this
Bo
turn
now.
around,
And this spot, by the way, chat, would you buy a dev or would you buy city or would you buy 2 dev cards? I'm curious.
yes, and also he.
Yeah,
does have a
you
card
should
down,
just
so
buy
he
dev
could-
cards. It's
it
definitely
could be
correct.
another
You need 2
single
dev
card
cards.
that
Your
makes
army is
sense.
not secured. You have to get it.
Still has,
There's
yeah,
the card.
there's the first card.
He buys 1.
It's a knight, and then he'll play the knight after, if it is a knight.
He shakes
He'll
his
buy
head.
another card now.
What?
Yep.
I think every dev card is good in Bo's position here.
I will say he passes without playing, so now I believe.
So if he has 2 down,
that card
if he
down.
has like, so just keep. Here's another like I guess information like tell I guess question mark. I don't know. So if someone has 4 down dev cards, they have 2 down, they're not playing. Generally, if you have 4 actionable dev cards, you need 4 turns to play it. You should be playing your dev cards at a high frequency there, because I mean, yeah, you kind of need to do so. Otherwise, your hand's gonna get like stuck. You have to do something. The fact that he didn't play any of those 2 dev cards, whenever he has, whenever now he's gonna have 4 unplayed, means his first 2 are probably inactionable dev cards, which probably means he has 2 victory points. So yeah. What do you make of his first D card where he shakes his head, and the second D card where he doesn't? A lot of times I'll shake my head just randomly whenever I buy dev cards, just confuse players and stuff. I don't like trying to do live reads. It's like a poker where you try to be like, oh, I'm gonna be a live read person, but your fundamentals are just all trash. Just focus on like the game and like the specifics instead of trying to do live reads.
One of them has...
And every single dev card in his spot is mostly good.
Another 5. See, but now Mary has 6 wood. So
What are you going to do with that? I mean, the 3 for 1's good, but like...
Yeah.
Okay, so in her spot, okay, I think there is one good move. But yeah, it should just be a city.
That's what I.
There we go. Nice.
Yeah, so that's a city.
Cities.
Huge.
Oh,
Okay. So
Okay.
she got a city off instead with all that wood, which is a much
9
better
points. Wow.
Oh, come on.
Oh god.
All of us. That's the best.
Bunch of cards for Mary.
Can I help you buy a card?
So basically, Katie, very, very intelligently, says she wants to help him buy dev card. And that's very necessary because she knows that, well, this guy needs to get largest army because Caleb's not doing very much. But since Bo has 4 down dev cards, it's very, very bad. And basically, Bo only has 1 knight here. So it's I think it's very smart that she's trying to help him. So very good game awareness by Katie. So nicely done, nicely done.
I know
I know.
that you need army to have a chance at winning.
Don't. But I already have arm locked up.
So he says, I already have army locked up. But how true is this over here? So I guess if you want to read into everything, we know his first 2 dev cards are inactionable dev cards, since he probably would have played the knights, right? So so we can assume that let's say there's 2 victory points. So let's say he's at 6 points instead of 6 points instead. And he says he has army locked up. But remember, when he's drawing his first 2 dev cards, right? His 2 dev cards earlier, he shook his head for one, and the other one he just looked at basically. I don't know. Does he really have army locked up? I don't know. So I think you have to keep that in mind as Caleb here. It's like, does he really have army locked up? But from another point of view, like from Caleb's point of view, it's like, well, he has 4 down dev cards. He probably does have army locked up. I guess why go for it, right? So Bo's trying to use that angle here. All right, so he ends his turn because he can't do anything. He's got 4 cards. Yep.
I might have a road builder in there, so maybe he can. Okay, here we go.
Caleb passes.
That's a very, very, very lucky roll. The 8 is so good because now they can take away roads. If they didn't roll like an 8 or 9, then Mary has strong winning outs to win. Not strong, but she has winning rolls.
I don't think Mary would have won on that 5, but it would have been a lot closer.
Yeah, she ports her
I don't
entire
think Mary
hand
would have
for
won. See,
2 roads.
That's exactly what you don't want to do.
to secure.
I think actually I disagree. For as white, I think that's the only play you can do, right? Because like the thing is, she extends road, and she also gives herself a settlement spot. Yeah, I think that's the best play here.
I should draw card right now, so let's try to survive.
Personally, I think that just hurts.
2 more roads for orange.
Yeah.
So like when I'm not sure how I feel about this, but basically, orange build these 2 roads over here, but you could also just build 2 more points like down here or down here to actually get a settlement spot. But it gets like building these 2 roads all the way up here. Like let's say you can take road, now you're at 6 points, and if you take army, now you're at 8 points. You know, it's still miserable for you to get to 10 points. So I'm not really sure how I feel about trying to connect, since you have to do a lot just to do that. So I don't know, but well, I mean, you're kind of in a bad spot no matter what, right? But I guess you only do need 2 more roads to get to 8.
Alright, better block.
So that's the army.
9, yeah, that's the army.
Yeah.
And she takes the ore. Yep.
So if you look
The
at
big
the
steal from
army,
Bo.
10 turns at this point. We were talking about how Caleb should have bought another development card.
Yeah.
And Bo takes army now. He's sitting at 6 points with 4 down dev cards still, so he's still kind of chilling. 4 down dev cards with 2 of them inactionable,
Yes.
which puts him at 8.
Go back.
And she still wins with an 11, by the way. She still has winning rolls through the 11, and she has a sheet port. Yeah. Now in this spot, do you hold or do you buy dev card and just yellow it? It's a tough spot. I'm not exactly sure what I would do in white's spot, but you have to think about what does Bo have, basically. Basically, as white, you have to figure out what Bo has, and if you do think that Bo has a lot of VPs, then it's kind of terrible because then you're drawing pretty slim. But also, if Bo does have like enough VPs to have the win on the next turn, then you probably are forced to buy the dev card because you don't have another turn. But in general, as like Mary though, like you have like still a lot of winning outs and stuff because like yeah, you can hold and just like not port also just to try to like increase your winning chances too. But it matters basically you have to try to figure out what Bo has in this position. But let's see what she does.
Continue to get robbed anyway if I try to hold to build up to anything. Let's go fishing.
She goes and she misses.
Oh, so she had
Wow,
3
she
sheep
buys
there.
a
And
card for the
pulls
win.
I do think that was probably the right play, well, given the results. But you're drawing very slim.
Yeah,
It's very, very slim.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm saying if you needed it, I'll still give it to you.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
just
basically
saying,
this
I
is a
didn't do
death
an
sentence for
outrageous
white
trade.
and stuff.
I did a trade that actually helped.
So white had a few shots at winning the game with 11s, or a very slim draw to victory points here.
So,
But with the road taken, it's basically game over. Also, orange buys 2 dev cards here, but it's like the thing is the knight's already taken. You should it would be better if he did it earlier and stuff.
See, I told you.
Bo just says good game right here. There's a
Well,
4.
but we didn't count
And
them.
that's 1 wheat, and that is the end. 3 VPs.
3 VPs.
And yeah, it's impossible for him to lose in that spot. Yeah, so basically, like, I think it was pretty obvious, not obvious, but I think you could deduce relatively easily that he had 2 VPs because there's that turn where we didn't do anything with the dev cards, where they're inactionable. So you could easily deduce that was that. And also, like, 1 Monopoly has already been played and stuff. But yeah, overall, just really well played by Bo. I thought he did a very good job. Mary had winning shots. I still do think that if she potentially bought more dev cards to defend herself, I do think she might have been able to win instead of going for road. But yeah, that's like in general my analysis on it. I think Bo played this game very well, and I think he outmaneuvered his opponents quite well by doing a lot of trades. All right, thanks for coming in, chat. I appreciate it, y'all. I had a bunch of fun, and that's it for me. All right, bye bye.